Hello and welcome back to my latest SQL Server Quickie. Today I want to talk about a very interesting feature that SQL Server has provided us since SQL Server 2012, ColumnStore indexes. It doesn't matter who you are talking to, but ColumnStore indexes are a real game changer for data warehousing and reporting workloads. I always call them a turbo booster for such workloads. Now let's switch over to the flip chart where I will describe to you the basic idea behind a column store index. I want to show you now on the flip chart the difference between a traditional row store index, so a clustered or non-clustered index, and a column store index which was introduced back with SQL Server 2012. A traditional row store index just means that we're storing our table rows on a row by row basis on a database of 8 kilobytes. So we have our database of 8 kilobytes, and on that page we are storing our individual records. And for every record we are also storing all the various columns. In our case, column A, B, and C. With a column store index, that storage mechanism just changes. Means we again deal with pages of 8 kilobytes, but the huge difference is now that we are storing on one page just the individual columns. So we are storing on the first page the columns A, on the second page the columns B, and on the third page of 8K the column values of C. That's the basic idea behind the column store index. Instead of storing our table data on a row by row basis, we're just storing the data on a column by column basis. Therefore also the name column store index. And based on that storage mechanism, SQL Server can provide us a huge amount of performance improvements compared to a traditional row store index. Let's switch now over to SQL Server Management Studio, where I want to show you how fast a column store index can be. First, let's run a simple reporting query where we analyze our sale figures for our central fact table, fact online sales. As you can see from the query, here I'm only referencing the column date key and sales amount. But that doesn't matter, because with a traditional row store index, SQL Server has to read the complete data pages from our storage subsystem into the buffer pool. In addition, SQL Server also has to process the complete records. This means that here we have physically read more columns that we have logically requested in our query. When you look at the execution plan, you can see that the query optimizer has chosen a clustered index scan of the fact table in combination with a parallel execution plan. The query produces more than 44,000 logical reads and takes a few seconds for query execution. Now let's enable the turbo booster for this query and let's create a column store index. I'm creating here a column store index on the columns date, key, and sales amount. Normally, you should include in your column store index all the columns from your table, because then every query can benefit from the created index. With a clustered column store index that was introduced with SQL Server 2014, you have to include all the columns in the index because it is the clustered index of that table. After the creation of the column store index, we run now our query again, and now that query is amazingly fast. Imagine that. You haven't changed anything in your query, and your query is now just super fast. That's the power of the column store index. When you look at the execution plan, you can see now that the query optimizer references the ColumnStore index that we have created previously. And when you look at the output of statistics.io and time, you can see that this query now produces only a little bit more than 14,000 logical reads, and it is finished much faster than the previous one. That's the power of the ColumnStore index. In this SQL Server Quickie, I have introduced the ColumnStore index to you. As you have seen from the demonstration, a ColumnStore index can act as a turbo booster to your data warehousing and reporting workload. The nice thing about the ColumnStore index is that you don't have to change your queries in any way, because the query optimizer can choose a ColumnStore index automatically if available. I hope that you have enjoyed this SQL Server Quickie, and I'm already looking forward to welcoming you next month again. Thanks!